In a dynamic systems approach, one cannot think in silos. Tissue quality and movement quality should be separated, because tissue response to strain and finding proper loading of tissue can only be done by proper movement. Hence, good coordination should guide injury prevention and rehab. In explosive sports, tissues are exposed to high opposing forces. Not only the magnitude of these forces is important, the direction and time duration of the force is key to how tissue can handle them and how they can adapt to increasing loads. For coping with higher intensities in sport and for better fatigue resistance, these qualities of the opposing forces needs to be movement specific in both rehab and injury prevention. Movement specificity will lead to local self-organisation that will stabilise hotspots or injuries. Understanding self-organisation of the groin, of soft tissue around the knee, of the calf, of the hamstrings, is understanding anatomy and understanding how force landscapes emerge in different movement patterns. Key in these components of self-organisation is the interaction between shear forces that attack the tissue and force sharing mechanisms that protect the tissue. Soft tissue injuries are not well related to the magnitude of the acting forces, but more to the shear of the force vectors. Like a piece of paper is strong when pulled evenly from both sides and easily rips apart when forces are not lined up well. In the calf muscle, these askew force patterns occur when the forces from the gastrocnemius are not well synchronised with those of the soleus. To prevent these shearing stresses on the tissue, muscle can share forces by being transferred from one muscle to the other along connective passive tissues. This mechanism of force sharing works best under isometric conditions, making co-contraction capability the key to injury prevention. Isometric contractions make the muscles bulk out, hence putting forces through the fascias. They transport these forces through the body, up the chain and down the chain, and a movement pattern occurs. This is why movement quality is important. When muscles are inactive, like the muscles of the lower leg, because one sinks into a deep dorsal flexion while running, the mitigating work of fascias is less or more switched off, exposing hot spots to shear forces and hence injury risk. So training ankle stiffness is key to running performance, with calf being a very time-dependent muscle, requiring very short ground contact times. Also in rehab and injury prevention, these short ground contacts should be guaranteed as much as possible. When high-intensity impacts are not well possible, one should first try to create circumstances that allow short ground contacts before trying to increase force magnitude, using running exercises like on a soft floor or up a flight of stairs. Also, before chasing impacts, proper local self-organisation of tissue should first be brought into the bigger context of total patterns, connecting with swing leg retraction, foot plant from above, and hip locks will build the necessary robustness for later impacts. Also, at higher load, exercising good local self-organisation stays crucial. Combining muscle health into bigger patterns blends rehab and injury prevention strategies into one, with good movement being the ultimate guide.